All right, I have another Miller meltdown for all of you. This time, it's not coming from Stephen Miller, but it's coming from his wife, Katie Miller, who has lately ventured into the podcasting world, tried to do more media appearances, and went on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Sorry, this screenshot right here is really funny because Cenk Uygur, I agree with him, but he's always just screaming on every panel that he's on. In this case, he actually rolls through Katie Miller. She was entirely unprepared, and I'm glad Cenk Uygur was there. We're going to run through all of this because it turns into her threatening to have Cenk Uygur deported. Threatening to have him deported. And then she freaks out and literally says she's going to walk off the panel. I want to dissect this for you guys. I've been on Piers Morgan Uncensored before, and she just gives me the vibe of somebody who is totally unprepared to be on TV or debates like this on TV. Number two, who is a little bit entitled and thought that, the people would just agree with her on the panel. She probably does well on Fox News. Friendly interviews are a little bit different, but being in a panel like this, I had to learn this the hard way too. You really have to assert yourself and you have to be ready for everyone to be at your neck. And she immediately gets shaken off of her train of thoughts. But before we go into her freak out, let me just compare this to her husband. Do you guys remember this clip that went viral during the campaign trail where Stephen Miller is just freaking out? I swear to you, this clip is essentially exactly how his wife freaks out.
I was just asking for figures, and you have not replied to me about those figures.
Murdered. Do you know who Kayla Hamilton
Do you trust the numbers of Nicolas Maduro? I'm asking again.
I trust a ruthless dictator will empty his prisons and send their criminals to our country.
So you trust his numbers?
The most dangerous gang in Venezuela is
You
now
trust Nicolas
occupying apartment
Maduro?
buildings. I trust that he does not want his criminals to be...
So Stephen Miller was essentially starting to praise his dictator and saying that his numbers must be accurate. So the reporter asks him a few questions. And by the end of the interview, Stephen Miller is sweating and screaming at an entire group of people around him.
Donald Trump is going to be elected president, and the migrant gangs are going to be sent home. Children's lives will be saved. And you know who will benefit the most? Are the working class Hispanic communities that are besieged by gang violence.
So you don't have figures.
Public schools that are being overtaken by migrant.
He just started screaming about random stuff. The reason I show you that is because Katie Miller goes on a very similar tantrum. First, I want to bury the lead here. Stephen Miller's wife threatened to have Cenk Uygur deported after she started to lose a debate to him. Cenk Uygur is a naturalized U.S. citizen. And the way she says this in such a smug, pompous way, like she knows that her and her husband are in a position of power. By the way, Steve Miller, of course, is Trump's deputy chief of staff, very high position of power. He's spearheading a lot of the most radical immigration policies or regressive social policies. Let's take a look at this clip.
Hold on. So
you better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust and
application and hope everything was legally
all the
and correct.
pogroms were disgusting.
Just like Ilhan
That
Omar
doesn't
coming
mean
in.
that
Okay, so she said, you better check your citizenship application and hope everything was filled out legally or else you'll be like Ilhan Omar. Listen one more time. She said, you better check your citizenship application.
Hold on. So
You better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust and
application
all
and
the
hope everything was
pogroms and
legally
all the
and correct.
pogroms were
Because you'll be
disgusting.
just like Ilhan
That
Omar
doesn't
coming
mean
in.
that
Because you'll be just like Ilhan Omar coming next. Ilhan Omar is somebody who they've been threatening to deport over and over and over, despite her being a naturalized U.S. citizen as well. But it gets even worse. Obviously, that's the climax moment. That's where Katie Miller loses it and threatens to essentially deport Cenk Uygur. But let me show you some of the surrounding context because that makes it even worse. They're talking about Zohran Mamdani. And, you could script out everybody's responses. Jillian Michaels comes in with some like pseudo-centrist BS that is actually more right-leaning. She acts like she's more of a centrist, but you can come in and you can tell she's more right-leaning. And then Cenk Uygur starts yelling about Israel, and he's justified in doing that, but he always just comes in hot. And then Katie Miller comes in and starts to talk about Jewish people. She's like, why does it always have to be about the Jews? And then Cenk Uygur says, nobody was talking about the Jews. And he's actually right in the situation. Nobody was talking about Jewish people. But it's interesting because Katie Miller opens up, like her debut into the debate world, she opens up saying, we shouldn't use identity politics and talk about, Jewish people as a whole, Jews, when we're doing this. But then within minutes, she's attacking people based on their identity. She's attacking Cenk Uygur based on his identity, based on the fact that he's a naturalized U.S. citizen, and then she attacks Ilhan Omar. So she does make it about identity very, very clearly. Let's take a look.
Why is it that every time someone wants to criticize Mamdani, it immediately comes back to the Jews and the anti-Israel movement instead of actually talking about his viewpoints, which is that
Nobody
he wants to
said
make
Jews. You just said it. You always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back and go, you have to make it about Jewish Americans. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Is Israel a Jewish state? Yes or no?
Yeah.
First of all, okay, so Saudi Arabia is a Muslim state, and you can criticize it all day long, all day long. There's no special protection
because
for
what you're
Muslims,
doing is
Jews,
using coding language
anyone that
to
calls
mock
themselves
American
a Jewish state or a
and to
Muslim
say that we
state.
should not be here and we should not be in existence, and that you would be happy for other people like
Nonsense.
Mamdani to use
No, I want Israel to be
no
safe.
Nothing of the sort.
Nonsense. You're totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying.
Quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your
in which
children
you
into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done with this if you're going to allow racist and bigoted attacks against one of your commentators just for the sake that he will not
hang on.
speaking.
Casey, to be clear, Casey, to be clear,
He inserted a line that says
Casey,
the
hang
Miller's
on.
lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Piers, where are you?
What?
Where are you standing for this?
God, you're so
Casey,
pathetic.
if I can speak,
Everything's your
if I
shield
can
is
speak, listen.
anti-Semite. Fire him, cancel him, cancel him,
Cheng,
America.
Cheng,
Oh my God, Israel's
Cheng,
feelings have been
Cheng.
hurt. Why don't you work for this
All right,
country?
can we try and get
this country?
Yeah, you are a guest on my show, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and I like you coming on the show.
And I'm saying
But,
the
you know,
two other
I
guests
think
on
you're
your
able
show
to.
are welcome to participate in these anti-Semitic attacks that is so permeating on CNN and MSNBC.
This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. I have to jump in here. Somebody criticizing you personally is not an anti-Semitic attack. If somebody says that you are lying, that is not an attack on Jews, that is an attack on you. And just stop hiding behind identity. This is all the snowflake behavior that the right is supposedly criticizing the left for, that you're simply repeating here. Yes, Stephen Miller is a destructive force in American society. That is not an attack on Jews. That is no reference to his identity. This is an attack on him individually, and just deal with the merits of this case.
Okay, wow. It felt like she was totally unprepared. I've been shaken off in a debate before, and I know what it feels like. Trust me, I've been there. And she got shaken. She was shaken in the middle of this. When Cenk Uygur comes in, he comes in really hot. You see her just lose her train of thought immediately.
Children in this country.
Who brought your
in which
children
you
into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done.
And then she nearly gets frustrated. Wow, the Miller family cannot handle anything. They can't handle even the slightest bit of pushback.
No,
Gangs
the
in this
figures
country
here.
or not? Are Venezuelan gangs in this country or not? Yes or no?
What
Yes or
are
no?
the
Oh my God, they even do the same tactic. Yes or no? Answer this question. Yes or no? Yes or no? There's a lot to break down here. I think the highlight that we need to take away is that when people are in positions of power, when losers are in positions of power, they will abuse that to go after people who dissent. Cenk Uygur did not attack at any point her kids or Jewish people as a whole. There was no anti-Semitism there. I'm somebody who calls that out. I would call on anti-Semitism as it is. And there was no anti-Semitism in this clip right here. She just jumped to a crazy conclusion and then tried to use that as a pretext to say she wants to denaturalize Cenk Uygur. I have a feeling even Stephen Miller probably watched this and was like, oh, you should probably stop doing these shows, honey. That was probably his reaction. You should stop doing these shows, honey. These aren't a good look for us. And I completely agree. I'm going to leave it there, but if you appreciate the videos we make on the Adam Akra channel, double check to make sure you're subscribed. I love you all, and peace out.